All right, guys. Of course, we have the timers, or I'm sorry, the alerts. The alerts from the indicators going off at the same time I'm trying to go live because it's 8 p.m. So before I get into the content, guys, let me go ahead and actually take a look and see which indicators are going off right now. We got a lot of indicators today, guys. Six. Well, it says six, but it doesn't appear that way. So Bitcoin, we had a large whale sell-off this morning. Today, for the day close, we have Shiba Inu that is into fear and large selling volume detected. And then XRP is also in the fear. So that's, sorry, I didn't mean to go into this on my live stream, guys, but because the dinger started dinging, I want to go ahead and bring you guys to, where am I? All right. So basically, XRP is in the fear zone again. It has dipped back down as expected. You know, each time it goes into the fear zone, it does actually go up afterwards, as you can see. So we're in the fear again. So, you know, we use this as potential buying opportunities. However, that's just in the short term. In the longer term, it is always expected to go up from there much higher. If you actually go historically into, well, XRP, I don't know if that's the best example. But these indicators are fire, guys. There's still a sale going on. The links are in the description section below. But I want to get into I want to get into the topic today concerning Uphold. So I was working with someone the other day that had come over, and I was helping them get into some crypto. And so they needed to move some stuff around. And Uphold, you know, they wanted to send their crypto to their husband's Kraken account. And we went to go do that. And we went to go do that. And Uphold basically did the whole, you know, alarming transaction deal where they, you know, began to want to scrutinize the account holder to make sure that it was a legitimate transaction, you know, because there's a lot of fraud in crypto. And so I've heard this on just about every exchange. However, you know, they provided, they verified their identity, did the whole face scan, rotating, it matched what was on file, uploaded the ID, you know, confirmed, yes, this is me. Yes, I'm sending it to, you know, our account. And they asked, one of the questions was, is it the first time? And they said, yeah, it's the first time we're using this wallet address. They then proceeded to lock down the funds till August and said that we are no longer going to be offering you services. And so their funds will be released in August. That's always the case with these exchanges when they go through this stuff. I've seen it happen so many times. But, you know, there was nothing wrong and everything was verified. And then I got a message from somebody today that Uphold is wanting them to upload, you know, bank statements. And they were like, you know, I asked AI. AI says that this is normal for, you know, these exchanges and different things like that. They're trying to make sure you're not laundering money. Makes sense. However, Uphold is just becoming so problematic lately that I am just, especially with the way that they treated the lady that I was helping after she, verified and everything, did everything right. And so I'm just encouraging people. Originally, the reason why Uphold was a thing was because it was one of the few places that was actually listing XRP while they were going through the court proceedings. And so, of course, when they, beat their court case or whatever, and so on and so forth, everybody wanted to list them again, which is pretty standard. But when the SEC is obviously saying it's a securities violation, exchanges will oftentimes delist them because, they don't want to get involved in listing a, security, et cetera, et cetera. And so Uphold, however, continued to list it. And so that was why it was such a sought after exchange once upon a time. But with the way that they've been lately, I just wanted to, throw this out there. If anybody wants to move to a better exchange, couple of things. I've got some recommendations. Please remember, I'm not a financial advisor, but I do have a section in my Getting Started in Crypto course where I teach on this specifically. Now, sometimes you can do everything right and they'll still throw the book at you. And that's what happened in her case. And that's why I'm even putting this video out there. I just, had another guy I thought about making this video, but then when the guy today messaged me and he's like, yo, Uphold's acting weird. I'm like, you know what? I need to make this video. So I'm making the video. But here is my, and let me just erase the whole recommendation thing or whatever I said I was doing, advice or whatever, because I don't want this to sound like this is what you should do. But let me tell you what I do. Oftentimes, these exchanges will ask questions in a kind of a scrutinized manner because they're wanting to try to trip you up. They're wanting to see where you might answer incorrectly or reveal that you don't know what you're doing, or that you're getting scammed, or that somebody else is accessing your account, or what have you. And I actually have a section in my crypto course on how to deal with this with your banks as well, because I've even been the victim of that when I've tried to wire transfer from my bank to the crypto exchange, and the bank calls and they say, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Well, who to?" And I said, "The company that you have listed on the wire transfer," And they're like, "Okay, what are you buying when you get over there? What crypto are you buying?" And I was like, no. I was like, "I'm so sorry, but I have some personal convictions where I don't mind you verifying my identity and then authenticating that I indeed initiated this wire transfer. But when you start asking me personal questions about what I'm doing with the business over there, I'm like, if I'm hiring an attorney, like, there's no way I'm telling you what I'm hiring the attorney for. You know what I mean? And if I'm doing business with a precious metals dealer or a crypto exchange, I'm not telling the bank what coin I'm buying. And so I'm sorry. Now, that's just me. That's my own personal conviction, where I just feel as though they have a responsibility, actually, and I appreciate that responsibility, to be scrutinous in the manner in which they vet the authentication that it's not somebody accessing your account, and that you actually are indeed wanting to send this transfer, and that you're not getting scammed by some, dude from India that says he's, kidnapped your mother and whatever, just crazy stuff, right? It's all out there and stuff happens. And so anyway, so basically, that's just me and that personal. And so what I did is there's a crypto-friendly bank, and they canceled. The lady says, "I'm sorry, because you won't answer that question, we're not going to send your wire transfer." I said, "That's fine. You have the right to, refuse, but the problem is you're doing it based upon a question that I don't think you should be asking, for sure." And so, that being said, when it comes to the crypto exchange, however, when they ask you certain questions, they are doing the same thing. They're looking for, loopholes in what you're saying, and they're trying to nab you, basically. I hate to say it, but that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you tripped up to make it to where they realize either you're getting scammed or they suspect you're getting scammed. So the way I do it is I answer the questions in the manner in which it would appease them. That's what I do. For example, they ask you the question, is somebody helping you? Well, if somebody's helping you, you probably don't want to answer that question. Yes. You know what I mean? If it's actually somebody that you know and that you trust. But if it's like somebody that you don't know, then of course you might want to answer that question. And that's just the way that I do things, right? Because like I know what they're looking for. And so they get concerned when people are helping you, right? Because that's normally when scammers are involved. And so that's one of the ways that I would answer that question. But the other thing is, do you own the account that you're sending it to? Hopefully the answer is yes, because a rule of thumb that I want to, tell you that I fully believe in, and I learned this back in the day when I used to get involved in all these high risk programs, because a lot of people would get flagged if they were sending crypto from their exchange to someone else's account. And so the rule of thumb is to use your own personal intermediary, right? Your own personal private decentralized wallet. So send from your exchange to your private wallet. That's it. And then where you send it from there is entirely, you don't have to get locked up by the exchange from there, because that's your wallet. Nobody tells you anything about it. Nobody has jurisdiction over the funds there. And so that's what I'm trying to encourage you to understand, is that if you're ever going to send from an exchange to somewhere else, I always recommend sending it to your private wallet first. Because if you're sending it to yourself and it's constantly going to that wallet address, you won't ever get flagged, and you'll develop a historical, use with the exchange, and they'll never be suspicious. They'll never be concerned. And so, so always keep that in mind. However, when answering the questions, it is my preference to try to give it to them in the way that would just appease them and raise the least amount of suspicion. And it's not because I'm trying to hide, any, illegal activities that I'm doing. It's the fact that that's what their whole line of questioning is for. And so sometimes you get caught in that, like this woman did, where they're now shutting down her account, locking up her funds until August. And this was, I think, a couple weeks ago. So it was about a month and a half. It might have even been last month. And so maybe it was 60 days that they're holding her funds, which is ridiculous. The majority of people don't have the available loose liquidity to have the crypto exchange just be like, oh, hey, we're going to borrow your money and lock it up for the next 60 days. And by the way, we're going to earn on that, because they always do. And, you're sitting there now, if you want to get into the coin that you were wanting to buy, you got to now free up some other funds in order to do it, because obviously the price is changing and it's volatile and everything's always moving. And so now that could obviously work in your favor, but it could also go against you. Does this make sense? So I have a link in the description section below, guys. If you are of the cloth, okay, if you're of the conviction that you are like, you know what, I probably want to move my stuff off of Uphold. And there's a link to a US friendly crypto exchange. And so it's the one that I prefer at this time the most. They have a lot of upgrades that they've done where they've now have various things that were never previously available on that exchange. And so it's just my favorite for now, US based. Then I also have the link in the description section if you want to go outside the US, because you can get access to global exchanges that actually don't accept US clients when you get this government issued ID that you can get in the description section below. But the reason I'm sharing this with you guys is because I don't have anything on Uphold today. And the only reason I used Uphold back in the day was because they had XRP available when other exchanges did not. And so I know that I've, helped a lot of people get into XRP back in the day. And I know a lot of people are still in the elementary stages of crypto. And you really should take my Getting Started in Crypto course, because if you had, you would have known 2 years ago to get your funds off of Uphold. Ta-da. And so, I know that sometimes it's better for people to get into something than not at all, but it's always better to be able to know how to maneuver from there. And so, if you're storing your crypto, number one, you should never have it on an exchange, period. And my Getting Started in Crypto course, which also is in the description section, will teach you where to store your crypto, short-term, long-term, and of course, when you need to use exchanges for what and for why. But because of the way Uphold is behaving lately, I just think that it would be wise for people to at least learn how to begin maneuvering your crypto. And so I highly recommend using a private decentralized wallet. And, I talk about all that inside my course as well, which one, all these different things. And so, so you don't want to get your situation affected like these two people have. And wanted to throw this word out there, guys. So links are in the description section. Have at it. I'll talk to you guys soon. God bless.